morning, Saints. I'm Darius from 3S3.
And I'm Ethan from 3SB. Both of us are studying O-level music. Today, together with the band and choir, we are going to introduce to you jazz music, how it started and developed, as well as some features of the various jazz genres. So, what is jazz?
Jazz is an art form that the music who were forced to move away from their homeland to work as slaves in America at the beginning of the 19th century.
The Africans had music for all occasions, such as working, playing, weddings, and births. In the early 1800s, when the African slaves moved to America, they brought along their religious beliefs, practices, dances, and music.
Many of them were either sent to pick cotton on plantations or lay railway tracks, which were both very laborious jobs. In such hardship, they used music to overcome their physical burdens and mental fatigue. They sang spirituals to express their praise, thanksgiving, and dedication to God. For example,
talk about your Gideon, and you may talk about your men of Saul. There's none like Joshua at the battle of Jericho. You may talk about your kings of Gideon, you may talk about your men of Saul. Also, there's none like good old Joshua at the battle of Jericho. Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua fit Jericho, and the walls come tumbling down.
Did you notice something unique about the rhythm of the spiritual we just heard?
yes, the second and fourth beats of the music, also known as offbeats, are emphasized. This is known as syncopation. I can imagine the African slaves heaving their hammers and swinging it down along with the rhythm as they sang.
Yes, the syncopated rhythm gives the music its swing, which was why the Africans sang as they labored to keep their momentum. In fact, the spiritual would sound very different if it was sung with a straight rhythm. And now, with syncopation.
Joshua fit Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua fit Jericho, and the walls come tumbling down.
Apart from spirituals, the Africans also sang field hollers, calls, ballads, and work songs. At the start of the 1890s, the rhythms of these vocal music developed into ragtime music, which was not only sung but also played on banjos, fiddles, harmonicas, drums, trumpets, and whatever other instruments available. It became the leisure time music of slaves and was played at places of entertainment and social events.
From 1890 to around 1915, ragtime flourished. African-American pianists traveled across the country, playing ragtime in saloons and dance halls on the piano without any vocals. Here is James, who will play us a classic example of ragtime piano music, The Entertainer by Scott Joplin.
Thank you, James, for that wonderful performance. As we've heard, ragtime piano music is usually in duple meter and played at a moderate tempo, similar to that of a march. The pianist's right hand plays a syncopated melody, while his left hand maintains a steady two-step oom-pa accompaniment.
Towards the late 1920s and early 1930s, as ragtime rose in popularity, the blues also grew out of African-American folk vocal music and was sung by folks in rural areas of the South, usually accompanied by guitar. Try imagining this: an elderly African folk lounging on his veranda, strumming on a guitar, crooning away.
As the Africans gained freedom from slavery, those African folks living in the South migrated north to Chicago and Kansas City. There, their blues music became extremely popular among African Americans in the urban areas and grew into a national craze because of radio shows as well as phonograph records by blues singers such as Bessie Smith, which sold in the millions.
Since then, jazz and blues have been intertwined, and the 12-bar blues was widely performed by jazz singers and musicians.
In a normal major scale, there are 7 notes: Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, and Ti. However, the blues scale contains additional blue notes, which are produced by slightly lowering the 3rd, 5th, and 7th notes of the major scale.
When blues musicians sing or play these blue notes, the melodies sound like they are bent or stretched, giving the music a unique flavor and effect. Ever since the jazz age of the 1920s, blues has been a distinct feature of jazz music till today. Now, Sean and Jonah will play the 12-bar blues on their guitars.
Thank you, Sean and Jonah. During the jazz age of the 1920s, a strong tradition of marching bands developed in the city of New Orleans. Band music was played at picnics, parades, political meetings, dance halls, and even during funerals. This tradition evolved into the bands of the New Orleans style, also known as Dixieland. which jazz musicians such as Joseph King Oliver and Louis Armstrong were famous for.
The New Orleans bands formed by these musicians typically consisted of 5 to 8 performers, each playing a different instrument. They played frequently at dining joints, saloons, and dance halls. During a performance, the melodic instruments, which include the trumpet, saxophone, clarinet, and trombone, would improvise on the melody all together, as well as one after another as solos.
While the melodic instrumentalists improvise, they are supported by a rhythm section, which keeps the beat and plays the chords of the music. The rhythm section includes the drums, chordal instruments like the banjo, guitar, and piano, as well as bass instruments like the double bass and tuba.
Now, an ensemble from our band will play their own version of When the Saints in the New Orleans style. We have Ensin and Hamza playing the alto and baritone saxophones, Timothy and Fairu on the clarinet and trombone, all of which are melodic instruments. Our rhythm section today will comprise Mr. Marvin Khoo on drums and Ms. Zaragan on piano.
Listen out for the order of the solos and how the instruments improvise on the melody. You hear some unusual things like slides on the trombone and really high notes on the clarinet.
A round of applause for our band ensemble. After the 1920s, New Orleans style came a new jazz style called swing, which flourished from 1935 to 1945. Unlike the small New Orleans bands of only 5 to 8 performers, swing was played by big, powerful bands of about 14 to 15 performers, loud enough to fill the large dance halls and ballrooms as people dance to the music.
From the 1900s onwards, jazz musicians continued to experiment and innovate, creating a multitude of new styles including bebop, cool jazz, hard bop, each characteristics and fan musicians.
A style of jazz that is commonly heard nowadays, especially at restaurants and even shopping centers, is the ballad, a type of vocal music sung in a romantic mood, accompanied by instruments playing jazz harmonies consisting of blue notes. You might be interested to know that the ballad has its origins dating back to the 14th century Italian balladeer, a song with a poetic and musical form that accompanies dancing.
Johann and Nicholas, by Mr. Lee, will now perform a well-known ballad, Moon River, which was first heard from the movie Breakfast at Tiffany's. Johann will be Nicholas will be singing on the piano.
Moon river, wider than a mile, I'm crossing you in style someday. Oh, the dream maker, you heartbreaker, wherever you're going, I'm going your way. Two drifters off to see the world. There's such a lot of world to see. We're after the same rainbow's end, waiting round the bend, my huckleberry friend, Moon River and me. Two drifters off to see the world. There's such a lot of world to see. We're after the same rainbow's end, waiting round the bend, my huckleberry friend, Moon River and me.
Thank you, Johann, Nicholas, and Mr. Lee for this beautiful ballad. During the mid-1900s, apart from movies, jazz songs were prominently featured in Broadway musicals. The American composer George Gershwin won worldwide fame as a crossover composer from classical to jazz style for his popular songs, musical comedies, as well as jazz-flavored orchestral works and opera.
Before Gershwin wrote as a song plugger, a pianist demonstrating new songs in the sales room of a music publisher in Tin Pan Alley. Throughout his songwriting career, Gershwin wrote one brilliant musical after another, which featured hit jazz tunes like "Swonderful" and "I Got Rhythm" from his musical An American in Paris.
We hope that you have gained a better understanding of the origins of jazz, the features of its diverse styles, and have enjoyed the music brought to you by our choir, military band, and O-level music students. We would also like to thank the Virus crew for their technical support and Saints TV for filming our program. To conclude today's program, our military band will play a medley of George Gershwin's "Swonderful" and "I Got Rhythm." Enjoy!
Maybe you'd like to put your hands together to thank the performers for today.